Hello, one and all. Today I have what I think is an interesting topic of conversation for you all. Does or can Infinite Magicraid have too much content? Do you think that there can be too much stuff to do in the game? Well, the reason I ask this is because over the last year we have received a lot of new dungeons, game modes, systems. I'm really terrible at keeping time, so I couldn't tell you exactly what's come when, but we've had pets, we've had the pet dungeon, we've had the 7 sages recently, and we've had a lot more stuff than that, but I keep forgetting because my memory's bad. But yeah, the point I'm making is that we've had a lot of new stuff to do in the game, some of which I like more than others, but generally I'd say it's pretty great content. It's good from an enjoyment perspective and a quality perspective. However, in my travels, I have heard tales from people that feel like the new content can be a bit too much, and I want to dissect why that might be the case. So to start, I feel as though the most obvious one is screen time. In a game like IMR, where you have a limited amount of resources available to you, and you're constantly competing with other players to make the most of those resources, you really don't want to waste anything that's offered up. This means that if a piece of content offers rewards and you have to complete that content every day or every week, you will feel pressured to complete that content so you can keep up. I will note that this sort of min-max thinking is a bit of a trap, however, and it can be how you end up beginning to dislike a game. To be honest, I'd recommend to anyone that if there's a bit of content that you don't like in the game, you're not enjoying doing it, just don't do it. It's about fun at the end of the day and not about min-maxing at the expense of your own happiness. Play what you enjoy, don't play what you don't enjoy. Really is as simple as that. But anyhow, this large amount of recurring content isn't a major issue if it doesn't take a long time to clear. But I do feel like there can be a bit of an overload if there's too much content happening at one time. So for example, there are some weeks when Fair Play Arena and GVG are active alongside multiple other events, and then on top of that, you've got your standard daily content, your weekly content, and it really can be a bit too much. Some days if I'm busy with work, I've got to exercise, I've got all sorts of other stuff on, I sit down at the end of the day and I've got 2-3 hours of Infinite Magicraid to play. That can start to feel a bit much and a little bit unfun. I think when you have to spend multiple hours a day on the game to clear the content, it runs the risk of feeling more like a job than something you do for fun. And of course, when I say have to, you don't have to, but sometimes it can feel like you have to. It really is just a mental thing. So hypothetically, if there's already weeks that feel like there's too much going on, what happens if DH Games add even more new content on top of that? Could there ever be a tipping point where they maybe should just stop doing new content? Well, no. Obviously, we all love new content. New content is what keeps us interested in the game. It's what makes us want to keep playing. You know, new heroes, new dungeons. If we don't have stuff to test our new heroes with, to challenge ourselves with, then, you know, we're going to get bored of the game. So we need the new content. So how else can they manage it? Well, they already do in different ways. We see raid functionality added to dungeons, which essentially allows us to skip large portions of content, like Tower of Mark, Faction Abyss, Endless Cloister, and this is definitely helpful. If they keep adding raid functionality as they add new content, this will go a long way to helping the issue. I'd also like to see them consider rearranging certain events. At the moment we find that some weeks don't have much happening, whereas others are really intense. Why not move the schedule around a bit to balance this out? That way, instead of having one week with 30 minutes of screen time a day and another with 2 hours of screen time a day, we can have an hour and a bit every week. That sounds more fun to me. And I know this suggestion might sound a bit crazy to some, but could it be an idea to introduce more game modes that give low amounts of rewards? Please don't kill me for saying that. Hear me out. I feel like Fair Play Arena's rewards are relatively fair. Then they're pretty low. They're not super substantial, but they're still helpful. But because they're pretty low, I don't feel bad on weeks when I skip through Fair Play Arena. I can choose not to engage with the content, and that's fine. I don't miss out on a whole lot. But then on the flip side, if you release a new bit of content and the rewards are really bad or really low, then you're risking pissing off the player base. People need rewards, they need resources, they want to feel like they're progressing, so it's a tricky one to manage. But yeah, it's certainly a difficult one to consider. We all want new content, we need it so that the game doesn't get stale, but that balancing act can't be an easy one to manage, to make sure that we don't get sick of the game, we don't spend too much time in the game, and we still have time to live our lives. I mean, we all love Infinite Magicraid, but I wouldn't want to be playing it all day, every day for the rest of my life. I do other stuff outside of Infinite Magicraid, I promise you guys. But anyway, thanks for listening again, guys. As always, eager to hear any thoughts you might have about this in the comments. And if you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. It does make a huge difference to the channel's growth, and it means I can keep making you guys content that you enjoy. Thank you all, have a lovely night, good night, and God bless.